Hello and welcome back to Blonde with the Pod. Thank you to everyone who gave positive feedback from last week's episode. I really appreciate you guys, just anyone who liked or watched the video. It makes me feel a lot less insane for talking to a camera by myself. So yeah, it just makes me feel a lot less crazy because sometimes I'm sitting here and I'm just like, what am I doing? But knowing that there is a meaning to the videos and that people actually enjoy them makes this whole thing a lot better. So thank you guys. And let's get to this week's topic, or this video's topic. I'm assuming if you saw the title, then you somewhat resonate with having gotten ghosted before, or maybe you've ghosted someone. I don't really know what the situation is, but yeah, I just want to kind of relate and explain how ghosting makes me feel and sort of what to do about it, because I feel like it's very common nowadays to get ghosted by people because they just don't want to text you back, or it seems like it's the easiest way to end a romantic relationship or fling. I guess not really relationship. You wouldn't ghost. Well, you could ghost someone in a relationship, but I would hope you would not ghost someone if you were actually dating them. But yeah, I'm talking about ghosting in a romantic context. So not getting ghosted by like your friend or your coworkers, but yeah, getting ghosted by someone you're interested in and you would potentially see something happening with them. So yeah, whether you meet this person on a dating app or you guys just like met naturally, I don't really know. It never feels good to get ghosted, even if it was like, I don't know, a couple weeks long of talking. It still is like embarrassing and it hurts. Even if, yeah, you guys have only really met in person once, it's still gonna hurt. And no matter what age you are either, ghosting is still embarrassing. Getting ghosted is embarrassing. And the only real solution I found that works is just like actually getting over it and actually not thinking about it. So making sure that you like move on and that you don't think about them not responding to your text or leaving you undelivered, because sometimes you can just start like ruminating on it and it can just be a whole thing where you can't stop thinking about it. So yeah, let's just get into some of the reasons why someone might ghost you. So one reason could be that they are no longer interested. And I know sometimes this can be like earth-shattering, like you don't want to accept that they're no longer interested in you, and sometimes it really feels like the world is ending when you contemplate this idea. I know that in the past, I have felt really hurt about the possibility that someone was no longer interested in me and had potentially found someone else. But that honestly is just the reality of the world, is that not everyone is going to be your person. And a lot of times people will try to look for something else, you know, and sometimes they don't go about it the best way and they're going to ghost you. They don't want to explain, they don't want to hurt your feelings, they don't want to get in all the nitty gritty of emotions, and they don't want to hear your emotional response, which is very immature, because let's be real, if you have something with someone and you've been talking for an extended amount of time, you owe that person an explanation as to why you no longer wish to be in contact with them. And if that's because you found someone new, then so be it. You're allowed to do that. If you're in a non-committed, non-exclusive thing and you're just talking, you're allowed to go on dates and find someone else, but you can't just, well, you can. You can break off all contact, but it's immature. And people will do it. Like, I feel like dating apps are just breeding grounds for people who lack communication skills. They're terrible at actually following up, sticking to their word, and that's just the modern dating pool these days. It's really sad, but men cannot just grow up and actually try to stick to their word, and a lot of times will ghost you when you least expect it. Like if they plan to take you on a date on a certain day it's not uncommon for guys to ghost you that day of and then make up some pathetic excuse later and be like, oh, sorry, I wasn't on my phone, or oh, sorry, I forgot. And they don't want to say that they were just too lazy or didn't want to follow through or whatever was the actual reason. And it sucks. It sucks that people can't actually communicate. And a lot of girls feel like they don't get any respect when it comes to communication, even if it's just not a serious thing. If they're no longer wishing to pursue the thing between you guys, then they can absolutely vocalize that. They don't need to leave you hanging. They don't need to be sending mixed signals. They don't need to leave you confused. But a lot of guys do. Let's explore another reason why they might be ghosting you. I would say they're not making you a priority, and it's hard to kind of say that they should be making you a priority, because if you guys aren't dating, then it's like, okay, well, you can't expect them to make you their number one priority if you're not dating. However, you should be like top 10 priorities if you guys are looking to become exclusive, looking to further the relationship, or just going on dates. I feel like you're not going to have a great success rate if you keep ghosting people. So if this guy or girl, whatever, is ghosting you, it probably means they're not very dateable. I'm just gonna say it, like, they're probably not a good person to date, and that's fine. If they want to be like that, they can keep going on the dating apps. They can just keep going from person to person. That's okay for them to do, and you don't have to be a part of that. You can tell them that you realize they're not really great at communication. They're lacking the sort of communication that you want from someone, and they are free to go do that with other people, you know? They can save it for the next person. They can find someone else who appreciates that communication style. You just personally don't appreciate it. So if they'd rather play video games all day or talk to their boys and text you at 2 a.m. because, oh, you just crossed their mind and you fell below all of the other things on the priority list, and they're finally getting to you. They're finally getting to text you. It just wasn't high up on their list of things to do. Then why would we want to continue that? Like, that's just absolutely not acceptable. And so many people are like that. It's just rude. It's embarrassing to be associated with someone like that. If that ends up being your boyfriend, and he treats you like the lowest priority on his list, then you're just as crappy as he is, because you're in a relationship with that man, you know? That's just how I see it. So really just try to focus on the people who make you a priority when it comes to talking and dating and relationships and stuff. Getting ghosted should not be a common thing, but I feel like it really is. And people just sort of, I guess, let it go, or they just wait for the person to become better at communicating, which is not going to happen magically if you don't say something. If you're too scared to say something, then maybe you shouldn't be with someone who acts like that, or you should sort of try to figure out how you can vocalize your emotions to the person, and maybe they will get better. You just have to make it known that it's hurting you, which is hard because that shows some vulnerability, and now like you're trusting this person to see you with your emotions, and that's a whole thing. So definitely you have to be at a place where you're open to being vulnerable, and that takes some time as well. So make sure that you're ready to do that, because if you care about someone and you want to make it to the next step with them, relationship wise, you have to get to that vulnerable state where you can say, this is hurting me. Like, maybe you don't mean to do this, but this is how I feel. And hopefully they're mature enough to not respond with, oh, that's just how I text people, and oh, I'm sorry, I'm not on my phone all the time. You know, making up excuses for texting you hours later. You deserve someone who is going to treat you like a top priority, like someone who they want to be talking to all the time, and someone who doesn't leave you in the dark about things. Let's also talk about sleuthing when it comes to ghosting. I feel like when I was in my Snapchat era, and I feel like everyone in high school goes through a Snapchat phase of talking to guys on Snapchat, I would just do all types of calculations of their Snap score when it came to them leaving me when it came to them opening my Snapchat and not sending one in return, so leaving me on open. I saw this on TikTok that it was a common thing to look up their Snap score, do all sorts of witchcraft, not really, but trying to figure out how many snaps they've sent in the last hour and how much they've been on their phone in the time span that they haven't responded to you. Let's drop all of this, okay? We don't need to be getting out our TI-84 calculator to try to figure out why he's not responding and Snapchatting you back, okay? I mean, Snapchat is the first mistake that I think people make, is you can't really let a relationship flourish and start on Snapchat. It's just not going to work. The amount of time that we spend as girls and guys, whoever, looking into reasons and possibilities of why someone is ghosting us is insane. Some of us could be getting actual bachelor degrees in ghosting and what other people might be doing in this spare time. So let's just put this effort and intellectualism into something else. I would say the amount of time that I've spent thinking about a guy who wasn't responding to me, in that time, I could have sat down and written a book, I think, about my life. I could have done so much with that time, and I will never get that back. So my point is, let's stop the sleuthing. We don't need to be Nancy Drew up in here, and let's actually start doing things that will be better for us. And yeah, that will also be a step into sort of getting past this guy or this girl who is ghosting you. If you stop thinking about what they could be doing or who they could be thinking about or where they might be, it's going to give you more authority over your own thoughts and your life and how you choose to think and how much time you decide to think about this other person. So we need to scale it back. This person is not the center of your universe. You are the center of your universe. Let's take the power back, because getting ghosted can be extremely hurtful and it can really lower someone's self-worth, but you're also giving them the power to do that. If they choose to not communicate, that's their choice, but you can't control that. You physically cannot control their ability to text you back. And I know so many girls who have wished that they could actually get this person to respond. But why are we trying to force people to respond to us? We should not be trying to force someone to pay attention to us. That should be a given. That should be bare minimum. And once you find someone who checks off those boxes of communication and wanting to be with you and wanting to give you attention and love, then that's when you can sort of realize that that's what you deserve and that's what you've deserved this whole time. And all of these guys who are ghosting you are trying to convince you otherwise, but that's not the case. Not everyone is a ghoster. Not people are capable of responding in a good fashion and a timely manner. It takes a lot of inner self-strength to turn down those options. It's really hard to change the person, and I feel like that's a lot of girls want to do, that is change this guy and make him into the perfect loving boyfriend. Why are you changing him? Are you his mother? Are you changing his diaper? No. If he wanted to change, he would. If he wanted to listen, he would. If he wanted to improve himself, he would ask you. He would come directly to you and say, what can I improve on? What do you think is lacking in this connection? What do you think I could be doing better? I'm saying that because I've seen this. Guys who actually want to spend the time to improve for you will make that a priority and will actually spend the time doing that. Guys who don't will take every step to avoid that question and avoid asking, are you satisfied? Are you happy with how things are going? Instead, they're only going to think about themselves. They're not going to ask you any of those sorts of questions. They're going to spend all of that time probably thinking about themselves. I don't know what they're doing and why they wouldn't want to improve themselves for you, but obviously you deserve someone who would do that. It's very normal to feel a lot of anger as well towards the person that is ghosting you, but honestly, don't waste any more time on them. Getting ghosted is an answer in itself of how they feel about you. And I don't know if you've heard this saying before, but silence is an answer. So if you're not getting any sort of response, then that is their answer to how they feel about the situation and how they want to move forward, which is not moving forward at all. I would say the times I have ghosted someone has been very intentional, and it's because I truly did not see the connection going anywhere, and a lot of times I just didn't want to bring up how I felt about it. Sometimes, maybe something awkward had happened, or you just felt like the connection that you guys had was not really what you were looking for, and the whole thing can just be kind of awkward. So that's kind of the times that I've decided to ghost people, if I just feel uncomfortable and I'm just like, I just sort of need to leave this on a silent note of silence and not talking anymore. But I will say that if I was single and I was going on dates with people, I wouldn't ghost, even if it was a very, very, very short interaction or communication, or just even like a very short date where you just only knew them for a week. I wouldn't ghost, because everyone sort of deserves a little bit of communication about why you wish to no longer pursue something with them. And that can just be as easy as saying, I had fun, but I think we aren't really well suited for each other. I didn't see the chemistry, or I didn't think the romantic connection is there. If you had a bad time, though, I would say that's when you can also ghost, is like if you really, really had a bad time and you didn't think that it was a good interaction at all, then maybe they're just a jerk, and you can also ghost. It's also hard because there's no rule book for ghosting, and a lot of times people will ghost for just unjustified reasons. Because texting is now like the main form of communication, it's easier than ever to just leave someone in the dust and leave someone hanging. Can you imagine ghosting in like colonial times? I feel like that would equate to not writing someone back a letter. And I don't know if that would be like more devastating or less devastating to not receive a letter. But at the same time, it's like the plague was around and they could have just gotten sick and died. I feel like I would have preferred that. Just like mystery and the fact that they could have just had an unfortunate sequence of events and are no longer around. Now through social media, you know that they're on their phone. You know that they're posting an Instagram story about their favorite football team. And you know that they're on Snapchat because their Snapchat score goes up, and it's like all types of things. I've had friends even go as far to stalk the Spotify account. You know it's bad when you're stalking the Spotify or Venmo account. It's getting too far. We gotta retreat back. We gotta touch some grass. We have to probably delete those apps for your mental health if you're going that far, and you gotta stay strong. Don't go on the Venmo, don't go on the Spotify, because that's when you know you're in trouble. But yeah, you're never going to get the answer you want from someone who's ghosting you, and you might never get the closure. You might never know why they decided to start ghosting you, but you know what you can do is start finding the answers to your own fulfillment by doing things that you love and talking to people that you love, reaching out to friends, trying to build yourself back up after a negative experience with someone that you were interested in. Sometimes it can take a day, sometimes it can take way more than a day. It can take weeks or months. You're valid in wanting to get over this experience, even if people will say, well, it was barely even a month long, or you guys only saw each other in person twice. Getting ghosted still hurts. It still is kind of embarrassing, and it's sad, you know? Like, you're allowed to feel sad about it, even if the people around you think it wasn't that big of a deal. I would say it's still a hit to your ego. Having someone actively choose not to respond to you when you've been open and vulnerable to them, it just makes them seem like they're rejecting you and rejecting your personality. And rejection is really a form of redirection. So yeah, getting rejected actually I think is good exposure therapy to just not always getting what you want and trying to bounce back from that, and realizing that the things that don't want you, realizing that you shouldn't want the things that don't want you. If someone is making it very clear that they don't want you, then why would you want to spend time on them? You should say the phrase, I don't chase, I attract. So let's not chase these bad texters and bad communicators, and let's start receiving, or attracting, let's start attracting. And that's all I have for today's episode. I really hope this edits well, because I feel like there was a lot of choppiness just because, I don't know, I've been all over the place today. So I hope there's not too many cuts, but if there is, I'm sorry that I couldn't just have all of this be one long fluid video. I literally had to stop and itch and just, I don't know, move, because I was just so distracted. I'm sorry. And let me know if you like sort of these relationship-y podcast episodes, because I feel like the last couple were on self-improvement, and this one is more romancy and relationship-y. So yeah, let me know, and thanks for watching.